So I invite Sayyid Sharif Ahmed Sahib. Sayyid Sharif Ahmed Sahib.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Khush Ahmaded Hazur. I'll have a, if allowed, very short question, only one. My question is, Hazur, that I think all over the world, many Ahmadis, they have with them tabarrukat of Hazrat Masih Maud alayhi salatu wassalam. My question is only this, whether we can show them in our exhibitions or not. What is the Huzur's opinion? In Ahmadiyya exhibition, our Jamaat exhibition.
Those which are spread all over the world can be shown here in this exhibition?
By the grace of Allah, we have got in Toronto also many. And just last month, the other pair of the shoe of Hazrat Masih Maud alayhi salatu wassalam has arrived, reached in California. One pair is here, one is in California.
It's not no problem. In fact, they have been displayed before. The only caution should be applied is that they should be authentic and genuine. For that, certification has to be sought from the center first. Afterwards, there is no problem if it is done under Jamaat's care.
Can I say one more question, sir?
You said only one?
I'm sorry. No, related to this one, sir.
Pardon?
Related to this one. Your answer is if it is already approved or authenticated by Rabwa. It's very right, sir.
I didn't say Rabwa, I said by Jamaat, by the center.
By Jamaat.
By the center.
So thank you very much, Hazur. Yes. That one, I received it in 1977 in Rabwa. Immediately, I knew this procedure. I obtained 2 forms from Wakil Tabshir Sahib office, not Sahib, from Wakil Tabshir's office. I filled them. I left them in Rabwa with the tasdeeq of the person who gave me. That person is no more in this world, but I knew that is a genuine. That's right. Then, and with the original certificate of that person who gave me that in 1977, I left it there. Unfortunately, at that time, I never thought I should make a photocopy, and then I followed that through some friend there in Rabwa. I have got all confirmation. Then I wrote the letter to the person who's got the second pair.
This is not the right forum for these complaints, please.
It's not a complaint, sir. Okay.
I take it as complaint.
I'll keep quiet.
It may not have originated as complaint, but it has reached me as complaint.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir.
No, you shouldn't be sorry.
Okay.
Listen to me what I'm saying. Pursue it further.
Yes, sir.
Write letters to the authorities concerned, and if they do not respond, then send me a copy. That's all.
Thank you very much, sir. And I have got all the copies. I will send it. Jazakallah. So until that time, we shouldn't display.
Enough.
Assalamu alaikum, Huzur. My question is that if you talk to a non-MD or not an MD, if you talk to them about religion, they will finally get to a place where they say that if Hazrat Isa was born without a father, it's very unusual. So how come he can't be lifted up to the sky? So can you clear this out for us?
If Isa was born without a father, why can't he also go to the heavens? Huh? You see, they are unrelated things. If anybody is born without a father, should he also automatically have the capability of ascending to heavens? This is illogical because most of the hermaphrodites in the animal kingdom are born without fathers, and the life began without fathers. So should they all ascend to heavens? It's illogical. This question has no relationship. To be born without a father is a different thing, and which is quite natural in life, not among the humans, but at least among the subhuman animal level. We find hundreds of thousands of examples or much more in fact, of animals which are born without fathers, just by single parents. So does it automatically imply that they should ascend to heaven? No. So that's it. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, Hazur.
Wa alaikum salam.
My question is, a non-MD has asked that God sent all the prophets to the Middle East, then why only one prophet, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, was sent to India?
Samjha?
All the prophets in the Middle East. Why have you sent only one prophet in India?
God has not sent all the prophets in the Middle East. This man, if he is supposed to be a Muslim, never reads his Quran. In the Holy Quran, God has repeatedly mentioned, in so many ways, in different styles, that there is no region of the world where God has not sent messengers. There is no time, no age in the world when God did not send his messengers. So the Holy Quran says this and he says something else. Whom will you follow? What he is claiming is against the clear dictates of the Quran. Have you understood this? According to the Quran, all the prophets were not born in Middle East. The Quran rejects this concept. The Quran clearly dictates that there is no region of the world where God has not sent or had not sent messengers. So what he is claiming is wrong. Okay?
Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum, Hazur.
Wa alaikum salam. Come a little closer to the microphone, please. Come a bit closer.
My question is, in our prayer, can we recite after Surah Fatiha the last chapter first and the first chapter last?
Again, Marglal Khan, even you have failed to understand this.
Will you please repeat?
In our prayer, can we recite after Surah Fatiha the last chapter first and the first chapter last?
Yes. Normally we follow the chronological order, not chronological, but the order in which we find the Quran today. And if possible, you should recite the first surah first, in that order I mean, and what follows afterwards. But if you change the order, it would not make the namaz wrong. There is nothing wrong in the sense that you will not be answerable for that. God will not be angry with you for doing this. So there is no hadith whatsoever rejecting this. Yet it's a matter of common sense. When you recite two surahs, what is first should be recited first, what follows should be recited afterwards. Apart from that, there is one clear-cut tradition of the Holy Prophet, authentic tradition of the Holy Prophet, which permits recitation of a surah which is revealed, or not revealed, but which follows the order of the Quran later, and a surah, but it is recited first, and a surah which follows before that, and it is recited afterwards. This hadith which I am referring to refers to a Sahabi who used to begin his recitation in the namaz, in the salat, always with Qul Huwallah after Surah Fatiha. So he would recite Surah Fatiha, then he will say Qul Huwallahu Ahad, then he will recite some surah of his choice. Now because Qul Huwallah happens to be almost at the end, so it automatically transpired that whatever surah he recited after Qul Huwallah, in order was before it. in order of arrangement, it was before it. So somebody reported his case to Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One thing to be noted about this is that if it were wrong in principle, Hazrat sallallahu alaihi wasallam should have immediately forbidden this style of recitation, but he did not. Instead, he said, who is the man? I would like to speak to him. So when that person appeared before Hazrat Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he inquired from him the reason why he did it, because he seemed to have done it intentionally with a purpose. So he said, the surah Qul Huwallah, Surah Tahir, Surah Ikhlas as we call it, is so beautiful. I love it. It's impossible for me not to recite this surah in any namaz. So because of my love for it, I always begin with this. Then whatever surah I remember, I follow this surah with that. Ahmad sallallahu alaihi wasallam smiled and liked that answer. He said, go ahead and do whatever you like. So it all depends on the wisdom of your changing the order. Order by itself should not be made blindly, should not be followed blindly, but there also there is a wisdom. Common sense requires that whatever is before, you read before, what follows, you read afterwards. But when there is a potent reason like this, which I mentioned to you, then you can change the order and it doesn't make any difference. Got it? Good, thank you.
Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. How are you?
I'm alright.
Better?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Yes,
please, what is your question?
Yeah. Now, Hazur, we are under instructions to involve ourselves in tabligh, and we are doing so. In some cases, at some stage, people tell us, when we narrate to them the beauties of Islam and the commandments of Islam, then they say, well, we agree therein. But is it necessary that we should convert to Ahmadiyya? And then we, according to our own knowledge, we just give them suggestions, some answers. But here, because all of Dain ilallah are here, and sometimes this question might be arising before them also. I request Hazur's guidance in this situation.
Please, you see, I have spoken on this subject many times before. This question has been brought before me during various question and answer sessions in different countries of the world. First of all, I'm surprised, why don't you understand the reason why he offers this excuse? It is a hollow excuse, it's without substance. If he were really convinced of the beauty of Islam, he would automatically accept it by nature. If there are two items of food offered to him, one is filthy and smelling and not of his liking anyway, and the other is wholesome and so delicious looking and whose aroma is also very attractive, which would he prefer?
The good one.
The second one.
Yeah.
Will you ask questions, why should I? I agree, I know this is much better than this item of the food or this type of the food, but why should I accept the second one? This question is invalid, it's just meaningless. Such people are only hypocritic. In hypocrisy, they say these things to please you. Oh yes, you have explained to us, it's beautiful. So try harder this time and explain Islam in real terms so that the person whom you are addressing is genuinely convinced. If he is convinced, he will come willy-nilly. He can't help it.
Hazur Anwar, Just now I received one initiation, one bath. Just now.
Jazakumullah, barakallahu lakum. This mosque is already filled, eh? And with the passage of time, this will become too short for you. Huh? Okay. Think of something else now. A bigger one, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Hazur, my name is Abdul Shukur Ghani. I have one question. Islam and Ahmadiyyat is blessed with the institution of Khilafat. Is there any example in other religions, especially religion with books like Christianity and Judaism? There is one example I can think of, Hazrat Musa and Hazrat Harun. I can't explain what their relation is. Ghair Sharifati. And last question is, Khalifa Hazrat Masih Maud. What is different between Khalifa Hazrat Masih Maud and Imam Jamaat Ahmadiyya? Is the same thing or two different others?
You answer this question.
I don't know.
When you got initiated at my hand, in what capacity did you get initiated? As Khalifa or as an Imam?
As a Khalifa to Masih.
No, and not as Imam Jamaat Ahmadiyya?
Yes, also.
So why are you asking this question then? There is no question.
Is one of the same powers.
What do you mean by same powers? Again, answer the same question. In view of the second concomitant question you have raised. Whenever I appeal to Jamaat for this or that, have you ever been hesitant about accepting it and raising the question whether I said it in the capacity of Imam Jamaat Ahmadiyya or in the capacity of Khalifatul Masih? And if by mistake I chose a wrong capacity, which you thought did not have a jurisdiction over things I said, then you would either remind me that you look here, you are using the wrong title for this instruction. Or you will say, oh, I can't accept it because you said it as an Imam. Well, as an Imam, you don't have any jurisdiction over these things. Have you ever thought of such problems and hesitancies?
No.
So why are you asking questions? And what was the first one?
Khilafat institution is Islam and Ahmadiyya is blessed by Khilafat institution. What about other religion like Ahl Kitab?
The Holy Quran has already answered this question, and repeatedly that verse has been brought to the notice of the Jamaat and others, in the sense that it is here that the concept of Khilafat is rooted. And that is why this verse of Surah An-Nur is so much emphasized, which begins with وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنْكُمْ وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ لَيَسْتَخْلِفَنَّهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ كَمَا اسْتَخْلَفَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ. Now it begins with a promise which is made with reference to the earlier people. And the Holy Quran says, they were made Khalifas before you, as they were made Khalifas before you, so we promise you that we will do the same to you. Now, where have you been all these years? I remember you being in Rabwa for some time, also spent some time in Africa somewhere perhaps?
I was in Jos, sir. I was
and you have been here for quite a few years?
In Libya also,
and,
sir.
And I understand you also listen to khutbahs, or don't you?
Please?
Friday sermons you listen to?
I listen, sir. I listen.
Haven't we ever come across this reference to this Surah An-Nur, and this particular verse of Khilafah? Haven't you ever heard of it?
I have not heard it. I have not listened to this.
You have not heard it either?
No, I read it. I am just asking whether this in Christianity and Judaism, is there any such example of...
That is what I am telling you. I have spoken at length on this subject, and I have explained the whole issue of Khilafat with reference to Judaism and with reference to Christianity.
Okay, sir.
Why would you like me to repeat all that, you know, a discourse of say half an hour or 1 full hour in this short question and answer session? Okay. Find out where I have spoken already on this subject and refresh your memory with that.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Jazakallah.
Any other question, please? I think the audience is suffering from my jet lag. No question. Here's one, I think, hopefully.
Assalamu alaikum, Hazur.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Hazur, my question is, for a long time, this one guiding principle Hazur mentioned, that if we have two meanings of any part or verse of the Quran, we should look for some other verses, they'll support one meaning or other, then accept that meaning. So that helps in very big percentage of the times. But some of the situations are like, one big example that comes to my mind is like some Muslims believe Rasul Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam were bashar, just like anybody else, and some believe that and some believe that he was Noor. That Huzur has in last few months explained in very detail. Is there any other principle Huzur could kindly give us to clarify some other situations where more than one verse in Quran supports two differing meanings?
There's so many, I can't enumerate them. There's so many.
No, just
every
what
verse of the
principle
Quran
should we
is
follow?
in essence supported by the entire Quran, because there is an underlying spirit of the Quran which as such stands witness to the truth of all its verses, and particularly those verses which are referred to in the Holy Quran as al-muhkamat. They are like pillars which carry the load of the whole building and are unshakable, soundly founded. So the Holy Quran speaks of those al-muhkamat and says that any verses which may offer you a few options which do not agree with each other, as far as different possible options of niche meaning are concerned, which agree with each other, there is no problem. If they agree with each other and they agree generally with the spirit of the Quran, as I have just mentioned, there is no such problem as finding support elsewhere. But when there are two meanings which seem to contradict each other, only then this question arises. Which one would you prefer? Here the sound principle to follow is that refer to muhkamat, where all basic essential teachings have been clearly explained. So any possible option which clashes with that, with muhkamat, should be rejected, and that which follows it, that which is in agreement with muhkamat, that should be accepted. So the first suggestion which I made was, which you just referred to, is a different one. That said that according to the Quran, the Holy Quran has verses in couples, in pairs, and one statement is not made singly alone, the same statement is made elsewhere from a different vantage point. And when you look at the same meaning from that, then everything becomes very clear. Like two pointing fingers. Wherever they meet, the direction of their pointing meets, that is the spot which is most certainly true and right. So similarly, the Holy Quran has pointing fingers of various verses. If you find the partner verse which speaks of the same subject from a slightly different angle, then it helps you understand the true meaning. Got it? Jazakumullah. तकलीफ हो रही है तो फिर आप चले जाए बाहर
वो तकलीफ नहीं है
हाँ
तकलीफ ये हो रही थी कि यहाँ एक कारपेट था बड़ा
अस्सलाम वालेकुम हुजूर
तो सुबह जो इंचार्ज साहब थे मैं तो उन्होंने ये हुक्म दिया था कि अमीर साहब
छोड़ो भाई साहब
मैं इसको फिर आगे करता हूँ
नहीं बिल्कुल नहीं
फिर मैं इसको उठा देता हूँ मुझे
नहीं आपको कोई इजाजत नहीं है जो जिस तरह एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में रखी जो चीज़ वही रहने दें
तकलीफ हो रही थी
आप तकलीफ हो रही है तो जगह छोड़ दें
बस
बिल्कुल ये नामुनासिब बातें हैं आप इस तरह ना किया करें कई दफ़ा आपको पहले भी समझाने की कोशिश की मगर आप मानते नहीं बात ठीक है प्लीज
why can't we go past a person who is reading namaz?
नमाज क्या करना
Why can't we pass a person who is reading
why shouldn't
namaz?
we
why are we not allowed?
yes right why shouldn't yes you see the person who is performing namaz is not always standing. He sometimes bends down in ruku and covers a half the area in front of his which is allowed for him to use. If there are 4 feet altogether between each saf, each line, then when he bends down almost half of it is covered by him in that position. So if anyone crosses, he may hit him, and when he is crossing and he bows, they may meet halfway, there may be a clash between the two. Then when he bows down to prostration, then he covers almost the whole of the 4 feet reserved for him. So how can will you cross over him jumping?
No.
And how do you know when he's going to go suddenly into prostration? If he goes while you are crossing, then you will again hit him. And that is the obvious reason. That place in front is reserved from him. Nobody has the right of trespass. The second, if somebody passes too close, his attention will be diverted. And repeatedly, if people come and go, he can't concentrate on his memory of God. So the distance which has to be left left clean and unoccupied for him is between him and his sajdagah, as we call it, where the head rests. And while he is standing, he always looks down at that point where normally his head rests in sajda. So anyone who crosses that line off and on will disturb his concentration on namaz. So it's a very wise injunction, and in fact very essential for us to follow and respect. Got it?
Yes.
Jazakumullah. Huh? Achha.
Assalamu alaikum, Hazrat.
Assalamu alaikum, Salim. How are you?
I'm fine. I would just like to know, or to clarify a point. I've had many dreams about Hazur and about different things during my year of acceptance to Ahmadiyya, and I would just like to know what guideline would be correct to follow the interpretation of these dreams.
What interpretation?
Guidelines I should follow for the interpretation of dreams.
Dream, yes. You see, on the question of dreams, it is impossible for anyone to give a complete guideline which is exhaustive, because the issue of dreams is a very complicated issue, and the persons who see the dream are not always typical. Comprehensive instruction can only be issued in cases of, in typical cases. If there is a known code of dreams which is always followed by God, and if those who dream are typical cases, the same code is used to convey messages to them, and universally and always for all times to come, then of course a comprehensive book of how to interpret dreams can be possible. But dreams are a very profound and complicated phenomenon. Each man has his own individual personality. He has to be reached through his own psyche, and his psychic experiences would differ from every other person. So there can be no generalization of interpretation.
Okay.
You have your own background, you have your own coded language in the subconscious. So what Allah does is, Allah operates upon that computerized systematic information stored in your brain. And by pressing, like people press on the keys of computers and typewriters, so those keys are pressed here and there in an orderly way, and an image is created out of what is available within the mind. So because the availability is a very varying factor, it changes from person to person, so it's impossible to interpret dreams permanently for all times and for all people to benefit from them. Yet, with respect to the previous experiences of the holy people who either saw dreams and interpreted them themselves, or who interpreted other people's dreams, you can genuinely grasp the principle of interpretation in a certain way. But this is a general principle. It can't be particularized. You get it? Now here I'll point out at certain dreams which were seen by some and interpreted by others, while the language of the dream was so horrible that it was unthinkable that such a dream could be from God. One such example is that of Hazrat Imam Abu Hanifa, Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu. Hazrat Imam Abu Hanifa, who is the Imam of one, in not only one, but the largest school of jurisprudence in Islam, that is Hanafi. He once saw a dream that he had dug out the grave of Hazrat Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, or it was already open before him, and there were so many bones belonging to his body, and he picked up certain bones and liked them and put them back in the proper order, and picked some other bones and disliked them and threw them away. Now in the morning he was horrified, absolutely. He feared for his future, spiritual future, he feared for his redemption, and he said, what would happen to me? Then he reported this to a holy man who had earned fame for his quality, his capability of interpreting dreams. He went to him and he said, Allah bless you, what a wonderful dream you have seen. He was amazed. He said, what do you mean by that? He said, this is your task. You interpret the traditions of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and you have to choose the right ones from the wrong ones. If you make a mistake there, then you will mislead the whole people of Islam. So God has shown you in your dream that He has gifted you with this quality, this potential, this talent of judging the right hadith from the wrong hadith. So the ones you don't like do not belong to Hazrat Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. You can throw them away without any fear, because they really do not belong to him, they have been attributed to him. And those which you like, you put back in his grave, they are the real hadith to go by. So see, what a wonderful interpretation which fitted the situation. The same dream, if it had been seen by a lesser man, in fact by anyone who was not related to this task of jurisprudence or selection of hadith, for him the interpretation would be different. For him this dream would indicate that within you are a rebellious person. Within you there is something wrong in your whole attitude to Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Part of his teachings you accept and part you reject. So see, so with a slight turn of the situation, the interpretation can change so dramatically. So from these hadiths and similar, we draw the general principles of how things are to be interpreted. They should be interpreted in view of the person who is seeing the dream. If he is a pious and holy man, then the interpretation would acquire a different color and different aspect. If he is unholy man, he is a worldly wise person, then the interpretation would change accordingly. Because if somebody is known to be holy and honest and true, the bad dream about him or of his own dream about himself will have to be studied in depth. Similarly, the person who sees a dream, if he holds an important office, the dream has to be interpreted not individually, but in relation to his office. The case of the dreams mentioned in the Holy Quran, which were presented to Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam for interpretation, is a case in point for us to explain the whole phenomenon. He is known to have interpreted 3 dreams, and he is known to have failed to interpret one. See, it's a very interesting case study. There are 2 dreams related to him by his fellow prisoners. Each of the dream was interpreted correctly, and it got fulfilled exactly as was predicted by him. But individually, there is no issue of a communal interpretation to be made regarding those 2 dreams. But one dream which was seen by the king, it was not interpreted individually. It was interpreted as having a significance for the whole people, for the whole country. In fact, even beyond the borders of Egypt, because that was a great king. His dreams could not have been interpreted individually just for himself. And what the events which followed proved that Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam's interpretation was the wisest interpretation that could be offered. And so correct it was. It turned out to be 100% true. So from that we can infer that the person who sees the dream, that person also has some significance in it. And the dream will be interpreted according not only to the dream itself, but according to the situation of the person. Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam knew that this was a king, a great king in fact. And his dreams would not be ordinary dreams. They must have something to do with the destiny of the whole people. Now the dream he failed to interpret was the dream about himself. He saw in a dream the moon and the sun and the stars. all prostrate to him. 11 moons around the stars, and one sun and one moon prostrate to him. And he innocently related it to his father, and he understood the meaning immediately. And that dream was of a wider significance than the dream of the king. In so many ways, I don't want to go into detail, but it's a very interesting study. So he told him not to relate this dream to your brothers, he said, to his brothers. He understood immediately that God is going to give him a station above them, above the brothers, which will make them jealous. So he may not have told the dream to the brothers. As you know, Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam was a very obedient son. Yet this could not change the destiny. It was destined that the brothers should do what they intended to do to him, so that it would open the way for the future events which took place in Egypt. Joseph was so important for the lives of millions of people of that time, continuously for 7 years at least, that if this ploy of Hazrat Yaqub could save him from that ultimate danger of falling prey to the plot of his brothers, then apparently a small object would have been won. But at what a loss. Hundreds of thousands of people would have suffered for years and years to come. So it's a fantastic thing, this interpretation of dream. And even if you understand, sometimes you can't change the destiny. Like it happened in the case of Hazrat Yaqub. The brothers of Hazrat Yusuf did what they were intent to do, despite the fact that the dream was not told to them. It's a very complicated affair. I can't tell you a few principles but in the light of which you can immediately become an interpreter. Right? Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum wa
rahmatullah.
My name is Mahmoud Nasser, and I speak Arabic, and I can't speak English very well to ask you. Can I ask you by Arabic?
हाँ but Arabic इनकी पता नहीं कौन सी अरबी है, अरबी फुसाना होगी तो I would not be understand. Mr. Sabi, come closer, all right. You can address Sayyid Mustafa Sabit, huh? And you can address any question in Arabic to him.
Yes.
And he will pass the meaning on to me. I'll answer in English, but he will translate my answer into Arabic.
Okay.
Will that suit you?
Yes, of course. Okay. Okay. First of all, I have one question.
Arabic?
Yeah, I want Arabic, but okay.
Okay is not Arabic either.
السلام عليكم للجميع.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
السؤال الأول إن شاء الله سوف يكون: هل أنت خليفة المسلمين أو خليفة الرسول عليه الصلاة والسلام أو خليفة المسيح أو خليفة المهدي عليهم السلام؟
The first question is:
Are you خليفة المسلمين?
Yes.
Or
خليفة المسيح?
Yes.
Or خليفة الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم?
This question, in fact, is given different wording, but the answer will remain the same. At one time, in one age, there can be only one Khalifa in Islam. But I'll explain these different terms which you have used. Khalifatul Rasul can be direct, or Khalifatul Rasul can be through other links, not directly.
No.
For instance, Hazrat Khalifa Awwal in Islam, Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq radhiyallahu ta'ala anhu, had no link between him and Hazrat Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was the next in time, immediately inheriting the office of Khilafat from Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But Hazrat Umar happened to follow Hazrat Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam later. Between that time, his time and the time of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there was Hazrat Abu Bakr. So, relatively, his Khilafat could not be as direct as Hazrat Abu Bakr's Khilafat was. But he was Khalifa all right. So also was Hazrat Usman, so also was Hazrat Ali. So they were all Khalifatul Rasul, but some directly linked, some later in time through other links. In my case, I am Khalifatul Rasul only in the sense that a Khalifa was appointed by God Himself to Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If he had not been Khalifatul Rasul, appointed by God, then I could not be any Khalifa whatsoever. So because Hazrat Masih Maud alayhi salam is Khalifatul Rasul, as appointed by God, as promised by him and promised by Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself, so whoever is Khalifa to him will, through links, become Khalifa to Hazrat Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself. You understand this?
Yeah, I understand, but سؤالي كان هل أنت خليفة الرسول أو خليفة المهدي أو خليفة المسيح؟
That's what I explained.
Yeah, but you answered just
whoever is Khalifatul Rasul, directly or through the links which I have explained, he is the only person who can be entitled Khalifatul Muslimin. There is no other Khalifa possible. In the lifetime of one Khalifa who inherits the office of Khilafat through a chain reaching Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This should be understood. The chain must reach Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Otherwise, that Khilafat would be hocus pocus, meaningless. So in our case, this chain reaches Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam through Hazrat Masih Maud alayhi salam, and in accordance with the prophecy of Hazrat Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself, because when he prophesied that Masih would come, he said, "Thumma takunu khilafatum ala minhajin nubuwah." With the advent of Messiah, Khilafat ala minhajin nubuwah would begin again. So this link is a well established, authenticated link. As such, if I am right, and I know I am right with the grace of Allah, I am the only Khalifa in this age who can be rightly entitled as Khalifatul Masih and Khalifatul Rasul. There is no second person. But he would still like to, have you understood it clearly, or would you like a translation as well?
If he going to translate, that's better.
But you also wrote this question to me while I was in London.
Excuse me?
You also wrote that question to me in a letter when I was in London.
I don't think so, because first time I hear about...
And I answered that question.
No, first time I heard about the Ahmadiyya before maybe 10 days.
No, but some person did, because the question was exactly, worded like he has done it, in these three different branches. So either if he has not done it, then some Ahmadi friend of his must have sent to me this question.
No.
Have you ever spoken of this question to any friend of yours who is Ahmadi?
I told you, I hear about Al-Ahmadiyya before 10 days, just before 10 days.
It's a coincidence.
No, I don't know what the meaning of Al-Ahmadiyya before.
It is a coincidence. I agree with you that you did not write, but a few days, just a few days before I came,
No.
I received a letter from Canada in which the same question was written to me exactly as you have asked. So it's a coincidence.
I don't know.
Yes, please answer.
أظن حضرتك فهمت الشرح الذي قدمه سيدنا أمير المؤمنين عن الجزء الأول من الإجابة.
Microphone. That is for video. This is for loudspeaker system. This is for you.
يقول مولانا أمير المؤمنين.
It's not working. Yes, okay.
أنا في أي وقت من الأوقات هناك يتواجد خليفة واحد فقط. هذا الخليفة مثل أبو بكر رضي الله عنه كان هو الخليفة المباشر الذي تبع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم.
عليه الصلاة والسلام.
فهو كان مباشرة خليفة لرسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. ولكن في حالة سيدنا عمر مثلا هو لم يكن تابع مباشرة لرسول الله وإنما كان تابع لأبي بكر، فهو خليفة أيضا لرسول الله ولكن عن طريق أبي بكر، وكذلك سيدنا عمر وسيدنا علي عثمان وسيدنا علي. فلا بد أن يكون هناك صلة بين الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم وبين الخليفة. ففي وقتنا الحالي يقول مولانا أمير المؤمنين أنه خليفة لرسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عن طريق الإمام المهدي والمسيح الموعود الذي أقامه الله سبحانه وتعالى. فبهذا تتواجد الصلة بين مولانا أمير المؤمنين وبين رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم، لأن الله سبحانه وتعالى هو الذي يقيم الخليفة. وبهذا المفهوم يكون سيدنا أمير المؤمنين هو خليفة لرسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم.
And in accordance with that tradition,
وأيضا خليفة للمسيح الموعود الإمام المهدي، لأن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال عن الإمام المهدي وعن المسيح الموعود عليه الصلاة والسلام أن بعد ذلك تعود الخلافة على منهاج النبوة ثم تكون خلافة على منهاج النبوة. الحديث في أوله قال تكون فيكم النبوة ما شاء الله ثم ترفع، ثم تكون خلافة على منهاج النبوة ثم ترفع. هذه الخلافة هي الخلافة الراشدة. ثم يكون ملكا متوارثا، ثم يكون ملكا عاضا أو عضوضا، ثم تكون خلافة على منهاج النبوة. أي أن الخلافة الراشدة خلافة أبو بكر وعمر وعثمان وعلي، هذه الخلافة الراشدة تعود مرة أخرى بعد الإمام المهدي والمسيح الموعود. وسيدنا أمير المؤمنين هو خليفة لرسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عن طريق المسيح الموعود والإمام المهدي.
جزاكم الله.
I have other question. Can I ask it?
There is another question. Can be asked.
Welcome.
السؤال الثاني، بما أنه خليفة المسلمين طبعا، لأنه بما أنه خليفة الرسول عليه الصلاة والسلام أنه سيكون خليفة المسلمين في الوقت الحاضر. كما نعلم أن الخلفاء الراشدين رضي الله عنهم كانوا آمنين، يعني بما معناه كانوا لا يوجد حاجز بينهم وبين المسلمين. ولكن عندما رأينا الخليفة دخل علينا من الباب الخلفي وليس من الباب الذي يدخله المسلمين العاديين. هذا السؤال. السؤال الثاني، بما أنه
Just a second. Let me translate this question first and let him answer first. هذه خليفة المسلمين. خليفة المسلمين are secure. But when you have entered,
understood. He was pointing out. Who has told you that even a prophet is secured? If a prophet is not definitely secured, how can his khalifa or his khulafa be secured? you have forgotten the verse of the Holy Quran which speaks on this subject. وَمَا مُحَمَّدٌ إِلَّا رَسُولٌ قَدْ خَلَتْ مِنْ قَبْلِهِ الرُّسُلُ أَفَإِنْ مَاتَ أَوْ قُتِلَ انقلبتم عَلَى أَعْقَابِكُمْ أَفَإِنْ مَاتَ أَوْ قُتِلَ. So how can you say that Khulafa are secured in the sense that no harm can come their way when Rasulullah are not secured? So people stood guard over Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Muslim believers, those who loved him, guarded him throughout his life. Although the security is always from God, although he was promised by God that Wallahu yasimuka anin nas, yet the Muslims never fail in their responsibility to guard him. So it is a question which is based on misunderstanding.
من الذي قال لك أن الرسل أنفسهم يكونوا آمنين؟ الله سبحانه وتعالى يقول في كتابه العزيز وما محمد إلا رسول قد خلت من قبله الرسل أفإن مات أو قتل انقلبتم على أعقابكم أفإن مات أو قتل. إذن الرسل نفسهم معرضين لهذا الأمر، وقد وقف المسلمون يحرسون رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم، رغم أن طبعا العصمة والأمن من الله سبحانه وتعالى، لأنه هو الذي يقول والله يعصمك من الناس، ولكن الصحابة لم يقصروا أبدا في واجبهم في حراسة رسول الله حتى يعصمه الله سبحانه وتعالى من الناس.
The third question.
Excuse me?
The third question.
السؤال الثالث.
ممكن أسأل ولا خلاص يعني؟
Yes, please. I'm asking you myself.
بما أنه خليفة المسلمين في الوقت الحاضر، هل هذا يدل أنه خليفة المسلمين، يعني هل هو يرسل خليفة للأحمديين فقط أو للمسلمين كافة؟
Repeat it please.
Repeat it please.
بما أنه خليفة المسلمين، هل هو خليفة الأحمديين جماعة الأحمدية أو هو خليفة المسلمين كافة في جميع أنحاء الأرض بجميع فئاتهم؟
Yes. You see, Khalifa is only one. At one time. There can't be two Khulafa of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam simultaneously. There is only one at one time. So it is for the Muslims to follow that Khalifa or not to follow. In the sense that Ahmadis have resolved to follow me as Khalifa, I remain Khalifa for them. But potentially, I am Khalifa for all the Ummah of Islam, not only for them but also for the non-Muslims. You have forgotten this. Hazrat Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was Khalifatullah, neither for the Arabs alone, nor for the Ajam, neither for the Muslims, nor for the non-Muslims alone, collectively, for all of them. Like the Holy Quran tells him, قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسُ إِنِّي رُسُولُ اللَّهِ إِلَيْكُمْ جَمِيعًا. So he is Rasulullah, but for the whole of mankind. But in practice, in reality, he is Rasul for only those people who accept him. So similar is the case of Ahmadis in relation to non-Ahmadis Muslims. Ahmadi Muslims accept me as Khalifatul Rasul, as I have explained, so I become a valid Khalifa practically for them, for all practical purposes. But those for whom I am Khalifa, all right, but they do not recognize me, how can they accept me as Khalifatullah or Khalifatul Mahdi? Because they don't believe. But potentially I am also Khalifa for them. Like I have told you before, Rasulullah sallam is potentially the only Rasul for Christians, for the Jews, for the Buddhists, for Hindus, for all of them together. But they must accept him first. Otherwise, practically he can't be Rasul for them.
الخليفة واحد فقط في أي وقت من الأوقات، وعلى هذا فإنه للمسلمين أن يتبعوا هذا الخليفة أو لا يتبعوه. والأحمديون بفضل الله قد قبلوا هذه الخلافة ويتبعوا هذا الخليفة. وأريد أن أذكرك أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كان خليفة الله لكل الناس، ليس للعرب فقط، ولكن للعرب وللعجم وللفرس وللروم ولكل الناس، حيث أن الله سبحانه وتعالى قال له: قل يا أيها الناس إني رسول الله إليكم جميعا. ولكن في واقع الأمر من الناحية العملية هو رسول لأولئك الذين آمنوا به وقبلوه واتبعوه، وبالتالي فيقول أمير المؤمنين أنه خليفة لأولئك الذين قبلوه. ولكن أولئك الذين لم يقبلوه كيف يكون خليفة لهم من الناحية العملية؟ ولكن طبعا هو خليفة لكل العالم ولكل الناس، ولكن ليس هذا من الناحية العملية. من الناحية العملية هو فقط خليفة للذين اتبعوه.
ولكن بالنسبة للخريطة التوزيع للجماعة الأحمدية، عندما نظرت إلى الخريطة وجدت أنه تقريبا معظم الأماكن الموجودة فيها الجماعة الأحمدية خارج المنطقة الميدل إيست، الشرق الأوسط، وهناك نسبة كبيرة من العرب المسلمين لم يسمعوا عن حاجة اسمها الجماعة الأحمدية، خاصة مثلا عندنا في شبه الجزيرة العربية لم نسمع هناك على أحد، نادرا يعني.
But there are a large section of Muslims that are outside the fold of the Islam, and they have never heard of the Khalifa of the Jama'ah Ahmadiyya. If Hazur would kind say the translation, because the people would like to understand the
yes, that's right, please.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, the question is that there is a large section.
Now a question, born out of the answer I have given.
Yes. The question says that there is a large section of Muslims outside the fold of the Jama'ah Ahmadiyya who have never heard of the Khilafah Ahmadiyya. Keep in mind that the questioner was asking before if the Khalifa of the Jama'ah Ahmadiyya is also Khalifatul Muslimin. So when he received the answer in affirmative, yes, he is, he says, but there is a large number of Muslims outside the fold of Ahmadiyya who have never heard of Khilafah Ahmadiyya, particularly in the Middle East.
You see, this question is a well-planned and well-thought-out question. It is expressed apparently in 4 or 5 different questions. But right from the very start, the questioner had laid the foundation of this ultimate question. If you are Khalifatul Muslimin, they have not heard of it, so you can't be Khalifatul Muslimin. But if this logic is true, then Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam could not have been Khalifatullah for the whole mankind. Because even today, after 1400 years have passed, a large majority of human beings reject him, and a large majority of the human beings have never heard the message of Islam in its true presentation. Vaguely maybe. Go to the Chinese people, and singly China makes, the population of China is almost equal to the entire population of the Muslim world. And a very large majority of the Chinese people either have not heard of Hazrat Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam or have heard in just vague terms. And what about most of America, Canada, here? A full continent, and South America include that. Half the New World had not even heard the name of Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam till only recently. The first time the message of Islam reached this continent was through Jamaat Ahmadiyya by the missionary Hazrat Mufti Muhammad Sadiq Sahib in 1922. And from then on, different sources took up the message. So would you apply the same logic there? Would you say because 3/4 of the world population or more do not accept Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallam as Khalifatullah for them, so he is not Khalifatullah for them? For people not to hear would not change the destiny created by God. But there is another thing which must be noted. The message does not reach people because they are distorted. They don't want to hear the message. At the time of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam himself, when Meccans put up a strong resistance against his message, for the first 13 years of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam residence in Mecca, a large majority of Meccans had only heard in name that if somebody has come who calls himself a prophet. But they had never heard the true message of Islam. So if people resist, then they are to be blamed for that, not the message itself. In case of Ahmadiyyat, it is your own governments, it is your own mashayikh and mullahs who are working like the Meccan chieftains, obstructing the passage of Ahmadiyya message into Arabia through printed word or through spoken message. So who is at fault? They are, not we. Now that our message has started reaching them through MTA, we receive responses daily from all over the Arab world, within Arabia and outside Arabia as well. Whenever they listen, their response is so positive that one is amazed. So God has ultimately broken the resistance, the wall which was created. Holes are created there. Like the Berlin Wall has collapsed, so also the Arab wall is collapsing before our eyes. And inshallah through MTA you will see the message reach farther and farther and deeper inshallah into Arabian countries.
يقول حضرة أمير المؤمنين أن هذا سؤال كان مبني على الأسئلة السابقة التي سبقته، ولعل السائل يقول أن حيث أن الأغلبية من المسلمين لم يسمعوا ولم يعرفوا عن الخلافة الأحمدية، فبالتالي كيف يكون هو خليفة للمسلمين؟ ويقول حضرة أمير المؤمنين أنه يريد أن يذكر السائل أن منذ 1400 عام كان هناك عدد كبير من الناس في وقت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لم يسمع أيضا ولم يؤمنوا برسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم، ولكن هذا لا يغير من الأمر شيء، لأن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كان هو خليفة الله للناس أجمعين سواء سمعوا عنه أم لم يسمعوا عنه. وفي أمريكا الشمالية هنا وفي أمريكا الجنوبية لم يكونوا قد سمعوا عن أي شيء عن الإسلام حتى عام 1922 حينما جاء إلى نورث أمريكا أول مبشر إسلامي أحمدي. أيضا هناك ما يقرب من 1,000 مليون من الناس في الصين لم يسمعوا عن الإسلام أو سمعوا عليه بشكل غير واضح. فهل معنى أن كل هؤلاء الناس لم يسمعوا عن الإسلام هذا يجعل رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ليس رسولا إليهم؟ بالطبع لا. وفي الحالة الحاضرة التي حضرتك ذكرتها وقلت أننا لم نسمع في الشرق الأوسط بالذات عن الخلافة الأحمدية وعن الرسالة الأحمدية، يقول مولانا أمير المؤمنين أن هذا يرجع إلى المشايخ والحكومات الإسلامية التي تقف حائلا في سبيل وصول الدعوة ووصول رسالة الإسلام الصحيح أي الجماعة الإسلامية الأحمدية إلى الناس. ولكن بفضل الله سبحانه وتعالى الآن بعد أن وصلت إليهم إلى الجماهير رسالة الإسلام والأحمدية عن طريق MTA المسلم تلفزيون أحمدية، الآن نتلقى رسائل كثيرة جدا من الكثير من العرب في مختلف البلدان العربية، وهذا التلقي يعني هذه الرسائل رسائل مشجعة، والكثير منهم بفضل الله سبحانه وتعالى قد قبل الأحمدية. وبذلك فإن
not only among the Arab countries but Arab living outside as well.
ليس فقط بين العرب الذين يعيشون في الدول العربية، ولكن العرب الذين يعيشون أيضا خارج الدول العربية هم تصلهم هذه الرسالة ويقبلوا بفضل الله الأحمدية لأنهم يعلموا عنها. وإن شاء الله ستنهار وتنهد هذه السدود التي بنتها المشايخ والتي بنتها الحكومات لتقف حائلا دون وصول رسالة الأحمدية. ستنهار كل هذه السدود وهذه الحوائط مثل حائط برلين الذي انهار أيضا، وستصل رسالة الإسلام الصحيح إلى كل العرب إن شاء الله.
إن شاء الله.
أخيرا نشكر الإمام أو الخليفة. احنا صراحة لأنه أنا لم أقرأ جيدا عن الموضوع، ولكن نشكره ونشكره على يعني الأجوبة التي جاوبها لنا. نشكر الجميع لأنهم استمعوا طبعا، ونشكر حضرتك.
I would like to thank very much the Khalifa and all the audience for the answers that I did not know about before.
You see, just before I came, there was a young man of about his age, slightly younger, from France, who was originally from Algeria, who had no personal contact with Ahmadiyya through literature or through personal, through Ahmadis who conveyed the message to him. He only happened to watch MTA accidentally. And by watching MTA, he became Ahmadi there himself. And then he found out the address and came straight to London. He lived with us. You met him, didn't you?
Yes, yes.
It was a complete transformation. As if he was born Ahmadi to Sahaba, that sort of thing he was. Completely transformed. You could see the love, emanating from the whole expression from his eyes, from the way he talked. And he said, this is my faith. This is Ahmadiyyat, is true Islam, which I have found after so long. This is what I wanted to find. So with the grace of Allah, MTA is doing a wonderful work, which is spreading wider and wider and going deeper into the hearts of the people. I'm sorry. Do it now, because it's connected with his question now.
يقول حضرة أمير المؤمنين أن قبل أن يحضر إلى هنا رأى وقابل شاب هو يعيش في فرنسا، وهو من أصل جزائري، وهو في مثل سنك تقريبا. وقد رأى هذا الشاب أنه شاب مخلص جدا جدا، وتظهر من وجهه علامات الإيمان والتقوى. ويقول أنه قد رأى برامج الجماعة الإسلامية الأحمدية من خلال التلفزيون MTA، وكل يوم كان يتابع هذه البرامج حتى اقتنع تماما بأن هذا هو الإسلام الصحيح، هذا هو الإسلام الذي كان يبحث عنه. وبذلك سأل عن عنوان الجماعة وجاء إلى لندن وجاء إلى المسجد وتشرف بمقابلة حضرة أمير المؤمنين حينما كان مسافرا، وقال أنني الآن يعني وجدت ما كنت أبحث عنه طول عمري.
ما شاء الله.
there is a question. Yes, a question about the programs that are broadcasted through MTA. Are there any programs in Arabic language?
Yes.
نعم هناك برنامج.
You see, at least for 3 days, continuously I sit with Arab audience in London and for question answer sessions, and they are regularly being transmitted and mostly live, but if not live, immediately afterwards. But there are so many other programs where I have attended question answer sessions and they have been translated into Arabic like this program, and they are also being displayed, televised through MTA. Then most of my sermons are either translated or in the process of translation into Arabic. And so many other programs as well are being translated into Arabic. So we have got a lot of material which will begin to translate daily, to begin with for 1 hour a day, but I want to increase the time of Arabic from 2 to 3 hours a day. So inshallah, the Arab world will receive enough time, enough attention from us.
Did you understand or?
Yes, but
يقول حضرة أمير المؤمنين أن هناك برنامج أحضر فيه اسمه لقاء مع العرب، أحضر مع بعض الأفراد من العرب وأجاوب على أسئلتين، وأيضا هناك برامج أخرى تترجم أيضا إلى اللغة العربية، ثم هناك أيضا خطب الجمعة التي تترجم هي الأخرى إلى اللغة العربية، وهناك الكثير من المواد باللغة العربية تقدم، وإن شاء الله أريد أن أزيد برنامج الفترة الموجهة للعرب إلى ساعة أو ساعتين في اليوم، وإن شاء الله تكون 3 ساعات
إن شاء الله.
إن شاء الله حينما يجتمع عند الجماعة الكثير من الشباب العرب مخلص مثل هذا الشاب ومثل الأخوة من الجزائر، نستطيع إن شاء الله أن نقدم برامج عربية.
Please. Somebody should lift him or lower the microphone. Are you speaking or not? The voice is not carried up to me.
Assalamualaikum Hazur.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
My name is Anas.
Huh?
My name is Anas.
So what? This is not a question. What do you want to ask? Please.
Why can't we put Quran why can't we put Quran on the floor?
कुरान का बोलो जो समझ आगे बाकी नहीं है इसमें. On the floor. Because we respect the Holy Quran. And if you put the Holy Quran where you walk with your shoes or even without shoes, with your feet, this is a sign of utter disrespect. So, I don't know why you thought of it. If you're an intelligent young boy, as you appear to be, you should know the answer yourself. The Quran is the word of God. It should be respected beyond any other word. So you don't pay respect like this. Even when guests come to you, you want them to sit on chairs and do whatever you can for them, expressing your love and respect. You don't throw them onto the floor, all right, sit there or get out. Huh? This is to make them sit on the floor would be an utter sign of disrespect, except if you don't have any other place. But even then, some slightly raised platforms are sometimes created for the guests. But I mean, that's a different story. I hope you have understood the answer. It is a sign of respect for which we always want the Quran to be placed in a higher place and a clean place. Got it or not? Have you understood the question or not? Think over it. No?
Yes.
Have you?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Another young boy, mashallah, even younger.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Is Shaitan bigger than us too?
Shaitan ka kya ho gaya? Even Kareem didn't understand this time. Shaitan kya hua?
Is Shaitan bigger than us? That's what I know.
It depends. Shaitan is bigger than so many people in the world. But it's not bigger than the two servants of Allah. That's all. Kya?
We have a guest by the name of Alan Taylor. He has put this question.
Yes.
Is there an official...
Go over there and to the microphone and then address the question from there. But after this young boy, please.
Assalamu alaikum Hazur.
Wa alaikum salam.
मेरा question है
Your question is what?
Why is there khalifas on the earth?
Why there is?
Khalifa.
Why there are khalifas on the earth?
Should they be in the heavens? Because they are for your sakes, you are on the earth, so as long as you are there, Khalifa has to be on the earth.
No, like my question is why do we have them? Why?
Why don't we have them on earth?
Yeah.
On the earth?
Yes.
I'm very much on the earth here, am I not?
No, why are there khalifas on the earth? Like, why are they here? Like, why were they chosen?
He says, why we have them at all?
Most people don't have. Would you like to join them?
Yes.
You don't want a Khalifa for yourself, eh? Is that right? You're tired of having a Khalifa?
No.
I think it's better that you should all discuss this question in the family first and then put it together jointly on behalf of the family. All right?
Okay.
Thank you.
Huzur, a guest with the name of Alan Taylor has put this question.
Please.
A guest with the name of Alan Taylor has put this question. Is there an official or accepted translation of the Holy Quran into English?
You see, no translation can be identified as the true representative translation of any book, not to mention the Holy Quran or any scriptures. No translation is possible to be exact and officially the only valid translation for any book in the world from one language to the other. In case of verse, in case of prose, it is easier. In case of verses, it is more difficult. In case of great authors, it becomes even more complicated. In cases of the prophets of Allah, the word of God which is vouched to them, it becomes a very great challenge for man to translate it correctly, number one, and also in all its connotations. Now, as far as the correct translation is concerned, this is possible. And it is possible for the translation of scriptures to be correct as well as different from others. So that is why I couldn't say that particular translation of the Quran is the authentic representation. In case of the Word of God, different translations are possible as long as they do not contradict each other. Particularly in the case of Arabic, the possibilities of different meaning coexisting, at the same time coexisting, relating to one verse, that the possibility is so big that if you start translating each word in all its possible connotations, then the translation will be a task impossible, because one word in one verse can be interpreted differently. Each interpretation would be considered correct from the point of view of lexicon, or correctly speaking, as far as the translation of a language goes, nobody can say it is wrong translation. But in the following word, the same will happen. And in the following word, the same will happen. So if you translate each word in accordance with the full capacity of that word to be translated, then the matter will go completely out of hand within 2 or 3 verses. You will not be able to manage it at all. So the choice of the translator here works, and he has the option of choosing one of the authentic translations. Such differences in translation do not indicate that the translations are not trustworthy. They only fail in trust when they begin to contradict either other verses as translated by the same author or other translations of other authors. When contradictions appear, then it becomes the job of honest scholars to sift the matter, to sort it out and give their opinion. The same has been the practice throughout in Christianity and Judaism. They are still at it, and they have not yet reached a final conclusion which is acceptable to the whole world of Christianity. New evidence is appearing which indicates that the translations of the Holy Scriptures so far established were wrong in that and that place, because the true meaning had not yet dawned upon the people, because the material for which indicated that meaning was not available. It's because new discoveries have been made, new material has come to the surface. So the translation of the scripture is constantly changing in accordance with the new light thrown on the possibilities of translation. In the Holy Quran, the confusion is not that big. In the Holy Quran, with the grace of Allah, we have the same words of the Holy Quran as, according to some scholars, were authored by Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Christian scholars I mean, and related by him to his scribes and his companions. Or according to us, the same word of God exactly without any change, which was bestowed upon Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and through him which reached his companions and the scribes, and it was compiled finally by Hazrat Usman Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu. Now that word, according to the Christian scholars, is unchanged. So that unchangeability of the Quran is a unique feature in the history of scriptures, which cannot be claimed, unfortunately for the scriptures, as it is claimed by Muslims or by the Quran. So we have one advantage. Yet we cannot do away with the possibility of various translations. The translation sometimes differs not because the lexicon does not permit it. The Arabic dictionary is called lexicon. So when I say lexicon, it means Arabic dictionary of the Quran particularly. So when the dictionaries offer a few translations and the choice is made by a person to have that translation accepted, one translation accepted, it doesn't resolve the whole problem, because then the combination of certain translations can indicate a meaning which could not have been intended by the Holy Quran. So it is there that the debate begins. And it is there that we enter the area of tafasir, or the interpretations of the Holy, commentaries of the Holy Quran. So the commentators then sort the matter out and say that that translation is wrong in that much because it is not fully supported by other verses, in the translation of other verses. So the meaning drawn from this must be wrong because it does not apply to the context in which those expressions are made. So these are scholarly discussions which will go on and on till the doomsday. So that is why I said it is impossible for me to indicate one particular translation to be the only authentic translation of the Quran. Yet scholars have attempted to find out the comparative merits of the various translations into English. And to my knowledge, so far, the well-calculated, well-considered opinion of the scholars who are not Ahmadis is in favor of the translation of Hazrat Maulvi Sher Ali Sahib. A few years ago, some scholars got together, either in Jordan or somewhere in some Arab countries, for this purpose. And their consensus of opinion was that of all the translations into English, there is one translation by Maulvi Sher Ali which stands out heads and shoulders above the others. So I hope this answer would cover the questions. Whatever was meant by the questioner, I tried to cover all the various aspects.
Right. Thank you very much, Hazur.
अस्सलामुअलैकुम।
वालेकुम।
एक जो सवाल अक्सर पूछा जाता है वो ये है कि
Please, English is the medium of this question answer session.
I will try in English.
You want?
I will try in English.
Okay, do
okay. One question which is mostly asked that after Hazrat Masih Maud alayhi salam.
This is not English.
Pardon, please.
This is not English you are speaking. I said put your question in English because the medium of instruction of this session is English. So speak English, please.
So I will ask some of my friend to translate it.
To translate it? So ask him to ask the question on your behalf then.
Okay, thank you.
Who will do that?
ये कहा जाता है कि हज़रत मसीह मौद की वफ़ात के बाद जो सिवाय हज़रत हकीम नूरुद्दीन साहब के बाकी खुलफा जो हैं वो हुजूर पाक की मतलब आए हैं, बेटे थे दूसरे और तीसरे चौथे उनके पोते थे। तो इसमें की क्या वजह कही जा सकती है? आया ये कि उससे पहले जो मतलब बाकी जो फॉलोअर्स हैं वो उनमें इतनी काबिलियत नहीं है या ख़ानदान को मतलब हुजूर पाक की नस्ल को प्रेफरेंस दी है?
अस्सलाम वालेकुम हुजूर।
वालेकुम रहमतुल्लाह।
Hazur, the gentleman has asked the question is that why is it that after the promised Messiah, the first Khalifa within our Jamaat happens to be a person who was not related to him, and all other Khulafas happen to be the grandchildren of the promised Messiah.
As I understood, the question is, why is it that out of the 4 Khulafa, only one is unrelated in blood to Masih Maud, and the rest are related in blood to Hazrat Masih Maud, correct?
Yes.
The answer to this is that blood relationship is not a factor which is counted for the election of Khilafat. Had it been a factor, then the first Khalifa could not have been unrelated. Just a minute. The only factor which is emphasized is the taqwa of the person whom people are electing to the best of their knowledge. So this is the only criterion for the election of Khilafat. It is neither knowledge, nor status, nor position, nor relationship in blood to Hazrat Masih Maud Islam. So there is an institution which is called the Electoral College in Ahmadiyyat, which comes into operation the moment a Khalifa dies. And the people who are members of that institution, they elect. So it is through election. But for some to be related to Hazrat Masih Maud Islam does not bar him from being elected.
The question has been so because predominantly out of 4, 3 have been through in the blood relations. That's why it has been, it has arisen.
Please, you help me understand this question as well.
क्योंकि 4 खुलफा में से 3 जो हैं वो ब्लड रिलेटिव्स हैं और एक जो थे वो उस वक्त हैं कि जब कि हज़रत मिर्ज़ा बशीरुद्दीन महमूद साहब बहुत छोटे थे उम्र में, तो उस लिहाज से कहा जाता है कि वो इसलिए आए थे कि वो जो क्वेश्चन है वो इसलिए आए थे कि वो उस वक्त बहुत छोटे थे, खिलाफत का बार शायद संभाल ना सकते हो, उसके बाद कोई चांस ऐसा नहीं हुआ, तो इसलिए ये क्वेश्चन ज़हन में आया.
Assalamu alaikum, Hazur. Hazur, he says that the question arose because he is wondering if within the Jamaat there are other people capable of rising up to.
Why should you wonder? It has nothing to do with you. It is the electoral college which is already founded, constituted, and the members live, but they are dormant. As long as I live, it is neither their responsibility nor yours nor anybody else's. God will decide who will be the next Khalifa, and the expression of God's will be made through the oracle of this school of electoral college. So, because they don't know either, because Ahmadis consider it taboo to discuss the issue of the next Khalifa, and they would not dare to mention this even to their closest friends or relatives. So it's a matter outside your jurisdiction or anybody else's jurisdiction. So why bother? When the Khalifa comes, accept it or not, do not accept it, but God will accept him, I assure you. And whoever opposes him, his effort will be frustrated. This institution of Khilafat is genuine and covered, supported by God. So all the 3 before me who were related to Hazrat Masih Maud, has the history proved them wrong?
No.
Can you find one possibility of another one replacing them and being better Khalifa?
No, no.
So when the realities of history have fully supported that the choice was the choice of God, and why bother yourself and have a heartburn over the question?
No, no.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now just a minute. Amir sir is suggesting that now we should have the azan for Maghrib prayer. And if you have a question, I would permit you one question. Because you had started coming towards the microphone before Amir Sahib told me that it's time for namaz, right? Yes. Ask your question, after that there will be azan, and those who want to refresh their wuzu, they can leave and come back within 10 minutes? 10 minutes.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. My name is Wasim Ahmed Tahir. I have a question that as it is evident that
come closer to the microphone.
Ahmadiyyat is spreading all over the world. Would you throw some light that what is the state of affair in Russia in these days?
The scale of the spread of Ahmadiyyat, you mean?
Yes.
In Russia?
Yes, in Russia.
Why are you interested in Russia alone?
As it has been prophesied.
We are making advances in almost all the erstwhile Russian Empire. And for a few states where we have not yet reached, efforts are being made, and sometimes without our efforts God sends people from there. And it's amazing how it happens. During the Germany Jalsa, the last Khudam al-Anbiya Ijtima of Germany, we received 4 gentlemen from Slovenia. Slovenia is the pronunciation? Slovenia. The Slovaks, you know? Slovenia or Slovakia. Slovenia, I think, yes. It was Slovenia. From Slovenia. There were 4 of them educated, and one of them was also a leader of, according to his estimation, 2,500 Muslims from Slovenia who had neither much knowledge of Islam nor much knowledge of Ahmadiyyat. They visited Germany accidentally, but I believe through God's design, not accidentally. They met some Ahmadis, they came to our annual Ijtima, and all of them unanimously decided to become Ahmadis immediately there and then. And the transformation which we witnessed in them was amazing. Deeply convinced. They said, we feel as if we were Ahmadis all our lives, but we hadn't seen them, what Ahmadis were. And they went back with a promise and resolution that they will exert all their influence to convert, first of all the Muslims of Slovenia, and then the others as well. So this is how Allah is opening new doors, and there's so many such instances. It's impossible for me to speak exhaustively on this subject in this short time. Thank you.
Shukriya. Thank you.
With that, somebody should say azan, and let's go for a while for whoever wants to refresh his wudu. Huh? I would like to. Huh? Just go, just as you please. Anisa will appoint someone. Assalamu alaikum. I'll return in 10 minutes time.